mighty companions, mighty companions.
I hear love's voice calling. I hear love's voice calling us home, back where we belong. I hear love's voice calling. I hear love's voice calling us home, back where we belong from. Love is calling, it keeps on calling. Love is calling us home. Love is calling, it keeps on calling, back where we belong.
Welcome to A Course of Love, mighty companion. Welcome to A Course of Love. Welcome Kathy, Susan, CJ, Amy, great to see you online, Nicole, Kobe, and everybody else that's joining right now. We're going to go into the course of love. And remember that you don't have to believe the ideas, you don't have to accept the ideas, you don't have to welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you're going to actively resist, maybe, and some of the ideas are going to seem quite startling. Hello, Susan. But you're not asked to judge the ideas. This is not about an intellectual exercise tonight. This is about a heart opening. This class is about the heart. This joining is about the heart. The heart. Welcome, Elizabeth. It's good to see you online. Jerry, good to see you too, brother. Yes, let's get started. Let's get started. Let's get started. We're going to be on chapter 16 tonight. June, welcome. Jason, welcome. We're going to be on chapter 16 in the course of love. And I'm going to go through the paragraph and then zero in on the point that we're supposed to get out of it, I hope. And I want you to go down into your heart. Don't look at this as another class that you are a gathering that you're coming to just to analyze things. You got a lot of brothers and sisters on the line with you right now to communicate with you. So please communicate with each other. And when I can tune in and look down, I'll respond too. Go to johnchristmas.com for that beautiful music. johnchristmas.com. Like in the Christmas time. What you choose instead, I want you to focus on that the name of this is What You Choose Instead. Now listen to this. The glory that you felt from love, only seemed to be available from one and not another. It looks like sometimes that love is available from one and not from another. Love is available from anyone. What is love is available from anyone. If it's real love, it's available from anyone. If it's real love, it's not just about something that's available to you from one person. If it's real love, it's available from everyone. Love is not available from anyone in the way you think it is, but love is available. Love is available. The glory that you felt from love only seemed to be available from one and not from another. Love is not available from anyone in the way that we think it is. Love is really available from everyone. Love just has one source. There's just one source of love. There's just one source of love. It's just one source of love. That this source lies within each of you does not make it many sources. For many of you have but one source as well. This common source does not make any of you special. This common source of love makes all of us the same. Each one of us can be the channel for this common source of love. There's a love that's coming through me for you. There's a love that's coming through me for you. But that love is in you. That love is in you too. That love is coming from one source. It's not coming from many different sources. The love is coming from one source and not from many different sources. You may ask now why it doesn't seem like this is true. And the only answer is that you don't want it to. Do you know that the reason why it seems like love isn't coming from everyone and everything to you, do you know that's because, Raj, there's a part of you that doesn't want to receive love from everyone? Do you know that there's a part of you that doesn't want to receive love from everyone? There's just one source of love. I know it doesn't always seem like that source of love is coming through everyone, But according to a course of love, that's because that's a part of you and a part of me that doesn't want it to. It says in the very next line, you perceive but what you wish for. The only thing you're looking at is what you wish for. What you're looking at is what you have wished for. And your wish for specialness, your desire for specialness, your need for specialness doesn't lead you to see the sameness that's anywhere at all. For what is the same cannot be special. What is the same cannot be special. And so it's saying to me that my desire for specialness is what keeps me from seeing love coming through every available channel, because there's a part of me that only wants love to come through one channel, one person, one thing, and wants that to be true with the other person, that they only receive love through me, that part of me that wants to be special. Wow, that's chapter 16, paragraph 2. Chapter 16, paragraph 2. Now, it says next, you all are familiar with the problem child. You know the problem child. The problem child is the child who seeks love and attention, but they're doing it in a way that's inappropriate. You know this child is no less than any other child. The problem child is no less than any other child. And what the problem child is seeking is what everybody else is seeking, which is love. Yet if this so-called problem child, if this problem child grows up with behavior that remains unchanged, then you call the problem child a deviant. You call the problem child a criminal if the problem child grows up with this inappropriate behavior, and claim that it's not love that the problem child is seeking. We don't realize that it's love that the lawbreaker is seeking, that it's love that the criminal is seeking, that it's actually love that the murderer is seeking. It's actually love that the robber is seeking, and that he is now less than those who once were the same as he. So we now see that person as being less than us. The criminal is less than us. The person with the inappropriate behavior is less than us. But the truth is that person is just like us. That person is seeking love just like we are. And because as human beings that we somehow get into our grievances and our feelings of separation and unforgiveness, then it's hard for the mind that is full of grievances to give love to a criminal or who someone they see as having inappropriate behavior. It's very difficult for someone who has not forgiven themselves to share that kind of love to somebody else. So, what is the same does not change and become different. And all of our brothers and sisters are just like us. All of our brothers and sisters are just like us. They want love. They want love. They want safety. They want joy. They want peace. They want connection. They want love. All of them, just like us. Innocence is not going to be replaced by sin. I'm sorry. You may think you have a sinful nature. You may think someone else has a sinful or guilty or bad nature. But let me tell you something. Innocence, your innocence, cannot be replaced by whatever it is that you think you've done. Hello, Laura. Hello, Joan. Hello, Robert. I want you to know that no matter what you think you've done, your innocence has not been replaced. So, what you do to criminals, you do but to yourself. What I do to a criminal is something that I'm doing to myself. The way I treat a criminal is the way that I treat myself. And to those I claim to love with a special love. What you do to criminals, you do but to yourself. And to those you claim to love with a special love. Because you don't see those that you claim to love with a special love. And you don't see criminals in the changeless innocence in which they were created. So, I don't see a person that I'm in a special love relationship with as innocent all the time. When I get upset with them because I think they haven't done something the way that I want it done, or haven't given me the love or the specialness that I think I deserve, then I don't see them in the innocence that they really have. And that's the exact same thing that happens with a criminal. When I think a criminal has not acted the way that I think that they should, I also let go of the idea of their innocence. How do you let go of the idea of somebody else's innocence? Well, the way you let go of the idea of somebody else's innocence is through judgment. You look at them through the eyes of judgment. I look at the person that I'm in a special relationship with through the eyes of judgment. And that judgment is really basically all around whether or not I'm getting the level of specialness that I want, and if I'm getting the level of specialness at the level that I want it. How do I look at a criminal? The same way, as if somehow or another they're not acting out the script that I think that they should be acting out, and so I don't see them as innocent in their truest nature. I'm not necessarily saying that the thing that they do is something that should be supported, but their essential nature, who they really are, is a child of God, just like me, wanting love, even if they're going about getting that attention in what we have defined as an inappropriate way. So the course of love says that you have judged and found the ones you love good and worthy of your love makes not your judgment justified any more than the judgment that condemns a body to death or to a life in prison. My good judgment is not any more justified than my bad judgment, because I'm still judging, and I'm determining how good you are based on my ideas of what good is, and I'm also seeing you as not being good based on my ideas of what good is. So a good judgment isn't any more truly justified or coming from love than a bad judgment if it's based on how much specialness and how much you act out my script in order for me to see you as good. Now, life in prison and a body condemned to death is what judgment does to all of you who believe that what is the same can be made different. This is as true of the love you reserve for special ones as it is of the condemnation you reserve for others you have singled out, because judgment is what is required to make one special and another not. Judgment is what's required to make you special and someone else not special. So, do you know what that means? That means that without judgment, there would be no separation between us. If it wasn't for judgment, you wouldn't see me as separate from you. Without judgment, you wouldn't see me as different from you. Without judgment, we would never see each other less than the innocent, unlimited, beautiful beings that we truly are. You are a beautiful, unlimited being. You are greater than you could possibly imagine. Do you know that you can't think great enough about yourself? There's no thoughts that you could think about yourself, no matter how beautiful and how great those thoughts are, that would come anywhere near how great you are. That's the truth about you. So, without judgment, there wouldn't be any separation between us. Without judgment, I wouldn't see any difference between you and me, and without judgment, you wouldn't see any difference between me and you. Your judgment actually began with your own self. Your judgment began with you. Your judgment begins with you. So the course of love says your judgment began with your own self, and from the judgment of your own self was all conflict born. So that means that all the conflict that we experience, began with the judgment on ourselves. The very first judgment was the judgment on yourself. The very first judgment was the judgment on yourself. So that means all judgment started with judging yourself. All judgment started with judging yourself. All judgment started with judging yourself, and the only thing that you should say about yourself, if you really want to use judgment, then if you want to use a judgment that will not hurt you, if you want to use a judgment that will only serve you, say, everything I'm looking at is love or a call for love. Everything I'm looking at is only love or a call for love. The only thing I'm looking at is love. The only thing I'm looking at is a call for love. When I look at the news, when I read the newspaper, when I look on TV, when I see all the things that are going on in the world, what I'm looking at is a call for love. So the one right use of judgment is to see everything as love or a call for love. That's what it is. It's funny. It's been totally quiet. Now all of a sudden, since we've been doing this, I'm hearing some music that's being played and hearing people out in the hall. And so I'm going to even get more focused into the truth, because that means that there's something very powerful that Spirit wants to say through me. And so I'm trying to create some distraction. But everything is love or a call for love. Everything is love but a call for love. Everything is love or a call for love. Everything is love or a call for love. Do you know that without judgment, there would be no separation? Without judgment, you would see no difference between yourself and anybody else. Without judgment, you wouldn't see any difference between yourself and anybody else. Without judgment. Do you know that from your judgment of yourself, that's where all conflict has come from? Any conflict in your life is coming from the judgment of yourself. Everything you see outside is your judgment on yourself. Everything you're looking at in the outside world, according to A Course in Miracles, according to A Course of Love, what you're looking at is your judgment on yourself. So the judgment on the world is your judgment on yourself. Your judgment on the world is your judgment on yourself. The judgment on the world is your judgment on yourself. The judgment on the world is your judgment on yourself. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. There wouldn't be any conflict that we would be having at all. If we didn't see ourselves as different, we wouldn't have any conflict at all. You want love, and I want love. You want love, and I want love. You want freedom, and I want freedom. There's no difference between us. The only difference that there may seem to be between us is the way you go about receiving love or going after love, the way you approach love, the way you approach happiness. That may be different, but our goal is the same. We have the goal that's really the same. We both want love. You and I, we both want love. That's what we want. Freedom, love. Judgment is what makes us different. Judgment makes different, and judgment makes us seem like we are different, but we're not different. We both want love. We both want love. We are not different. We both want love. It looks love, it looks past what is the same and sees it not, and sees instead what it's looking for. Now, what does that mean? When I'm going to judge you, I'm not going to look for how we are the same. If I'm going to judge you, I'm going to look for how we are different. If I want to judge you, I've got to look for how we are different. And what you are looking for is what you will find. If you look for evil in me, if you look for something not to like in me, if you look for something to condemn in me, if you look for something to condemn in me, if you look for something to hate in me, if you look for something to judge in me, you are going to find it. You are going to find it. You are going to find it. Except finding it does not make it the truth. Because you found what you have been looking for, it doesn't make it true. Just because you found what you have looked for, it doesn't make it true. Now, what you're looking at is nothing but the truth about what you choose to see. Everything you're looking at is nothing but the truth about what you choose to see. You're looking at the truth about what you choose to see. That's what you are looking at. Hello, Stephanie. Hello, Myrna. I want you to know that you are just looking at the truth of what you have chosen to see. No matter what area of your life that you're dealing with right now, Raj, you're just looking at what you've chosen to see. That's what's happening right now. You're looking at what you've chosen to see. Your choice lies with God or with the self you believe you have succeeded in separating from God. I'll say it again. Your choice lies with God or love, or you're going to choose with the separated self that you think you've made to separate you from God. There's a separated self that you think you have made to separate you from God. There's a separated self that you have made to make you think you're separated from love. That separated self that you think you've made, your separate self, is called the ego. It's the separated self that you've made that makes you think you're separate from God. Now, all your choices, every choice that you make is going to be a choice between God, which is love, which is your creator, or that choice is going to be you choosing with the fearful, separate self. Do you know that you are not your fearful, separate self? You are not that fearful, separate self. that thinks it's different from everyone. That is not who you really are. You're not that fearful, separate self that worries, that's concerned, that gets upset. You are not that fearful, separate self. That is not who you are. You are not the fearful self. That is not who you are. You are not the frightened self. That is not who you are. Your choice lies with God, it says, or with the self you believe you have succeeded in separating from God, and based on this choice alone is how you see determined. So everything you see is determined by your choice of choosing with your Creator, choosing with truth, Raj, or you choosing with the little fearful separated self that you've made up. So you're right, Laura. The choice is between God or the separate self. And what shall you choose each moment? That's what we should ask ourselves. And Julie, you're right. You are not the fearful self. Sherry, I'm telling you, well, you're welcome. You say you need this, and you are welcome. Dharma, you are not that fearful separate self. That is true. Now I want this to be an experience. I want you to let yourself feel all of your brothers and sisters that's here with you, and feel me. There is a powerful energy that I'm feeling inside of myself more and more every day, and it can barely contain itself in me. So I have to keep on opening more and more. When I'm tempted to contract, my inner voice says, don't you do that, Earl. Don't you do that, Raj. Keep opening. Keep opening. Don't contract. Keep opening. And as you feel your transformation beginning to happen, don't contract. Keep opening. Keep opening. Keep opening. Keep opening. Judgment is the function. The separated mind has given itself the function of judgment. So the part of a person that thinks they're separate, the part of the person that thinks they're separate, that part of you that thinks you're separate has given itself one function. That part of you that thinks you're separate has given itself one function. And this part of you that thinks you're separate has given itself the function of judgment. And this is where all of its energy is expended. So the average human being is expending all of their energy in judgment. The average human being is expending all of their energy in judgment. Because constant judgment is required. Do you know that constant judgment is required to keep the world of fear and separation that we see? The only way that you can keep the world of fear and separation, the only way you can keep the world of fear, the only way you can stay in the world of fear is through constant judgment. I say constant judgment. Do you know that constant judgment is required to maintain the world you see? The Holy Spirit, your loving right mind. The Holy Spirit, your loving right mind. Your loving right mind is the Holy Spirit. Another term for Holy Spirit is my loving right mind. Another word for the Holy Spirit is loving right mind. Another phrase that defines the Holy Spirit is the loving right mind. So the Holy Spirit can replace your specialness with a special function. The Holy Spirit, the love in you, the divine in you, it can give you a special function. You have 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 a special function. But your special function, you can't have your special function. Your special function cannot be given you while you choose judgment as your proper role. If you think that your role is to judge me, or that your role is to judge what I'm saying, or your role is to judge yourself, or your role is to judge the world, or your role is to constantly judge everything around you, then you can be given your special divine function in a way that you can access it to give yourself everything you've ever wanted in your heart. You have a special function. You have a special function. It will give you everything everything you've ever wanted in your heart. You have a special function. But you can't discover your special function if you are still constantly judging. You can't have your special function revealed to you as long as you are trapped in thinking that your role is to judge everything, including yourself. You have a special function. You have a special function. You will not be able to access your special function as long as you believe that your function is to constantly judge everything and everyone. You're right, Laura. The Holy Spirit can help you. The Holy Spirit can help you and watch and question yourself each day. Julie, that's right. The Holy Spirit is the loving, right mind. That is right. Expand through love. That's right, Jason. You are opening to more and more expanding levels of love. Dharma, you said, expand through love. Myrna, all of you, just recognize that you are now having the opportunity to make the choice. Like Jerry says, above all else, I want to see differently. Above all else, I want to see differently. So how do you get out of this? How do you get out of the dilemma of judgment being what you think is your function? Well, don't forget what I said earlier, Raj and my mighty companion, that if you're going to insist on judgment, use the Holy Spirit's judgment. Use the loving right mind's judgment. And the loving right mind's judgment is everything is love or a call for love. I'm either looking at love or I'm looking at a call for love. Everything around me is love or a call for love. That's all that it is. That's all that you're looking at. Love or a call for love. We're at paragraph 8 in chapter 16. In A Course of Love. Do you know that only your heart can lead you to the forgiveness that must overcome judgment? Forgiveness must overcome judgment, and only your heart can lead you to the forgiveness that overcomes judgment. So if you want to know how to overcome judgment, remember that only your heart can lead you to the forgiveness that allows you to overcome judgment. Now, don't forget that forgiveness just means correct perception. Forgiveness means true perception. When you say you're about to forgive something, you're saying, I'm about to truly perceive it. I'm about to correctly perceive it. Forgiveness is not trying to overlook something that you think someone has done to you. True forgiveness is not trying to overlook some wrong that you think someone else has done to you. That is not the true meaning of forgiveness. The true meaning of forgiveness is for you to have a correct interpretation, a correct perception of what's going on around you. And there's only two things, love or a call for love. That's the only thing that's happening right now is love or a call for love. That's the only thing that's happening right now. So only your heart can lead you to the forgiveness that must overcome judgment. Do you know that a forgiven world is a world whose foundation has been changed? A forgiven world is a world whose foundation has been changed. And that foundation of that world has been changed from fear to love. Do you know that you are going from a world that's based in fear to a world that's based on love? You are going from a world that's been based on fear to a world that's based on love. That's where you're headed. And so when you have forgiven the world, you will know that you have forgiven the world, because if you have forgiven the world, it will be a world based on love instead of a world based on fear. It will be a world based on love instead of a world that's based on fear. Take a breath now and join with me. Join with me. Take a breath now. Come on, join with me. Join with me. Join with me. Send me some love now. Send me some hearts. Send me some love now. I want to send you some love. Please send me some love. I'll send you some love. Send me some love. Let's go deep. Let's go deep right now. Let's go deep. I can feel the love. I see the hearts. I can feel the love. And Dharma says, I choose love, peace, and truth. Julie says, a world not based on fear, but a world that needs love. Woo! Those of you who are watching, share with your brothers and sisters. Take advantage of the fact that this is an interactive live broadcast. That's why I'm doing it live, so that we can interact with each other, so that you can know you have other mighty companions. You have a lot of mighty companions. Join with your mighty companions. Join with your mighty companions. Join with your mighty companions. I am your mighty companion. I am your mighty companion. I am your mighty companion. You are my mighty companion. You are my mighty companion. God bless my mighty companion. God bless my mighty companion. Only from this world that's a forgiven world, only from a world that's based in love, can your special function be fulfilled. Do you know what your special function is? To bring the light to those who still live in darkness. So I don't care what you do in the world as your physical function, whether you're a teacher, a mechanic, a doctor, a lawyer, a bricklayer, that doesn't matter. What matters is that no matter what you're doing in the world, your true function is to bring the light, the love, the truth to those who still live in darkness. And darkness is fear, and darkness is ignorance. So no matter what you're doing in terms of the form or the role that you're playing in the world, you are here to bring the truth, to be the truth, to demonstrate the love and the truth to those around you who are still in fear. That's what you are here to do. That's what you're here to do. To bring the truth to the illusion. To bring the truth. To bring all the illusions to you who are the truth. Now I want you to hear this. Child of God, do you see how important it is to listen to your heart? Listen to your heart. Listen to your heart. Do you see how important it is? Do you know that you have to listen to your heart? Your heart doesn't want to see with judgment. 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 Do you know, 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 do you know that your heart doesn't want to see with judgment? Your heart doesn't want to look at things with fear. Aren't you tired of looking at things with fear? Don't you know that your heart doesn't want to look at things with fear? Your heart is calling to you. Your heart is calling to you to accept forgiveness. What does that mean? It's time for you to accept these correct perceptions that you are receiving from these wisdom texts. Texts like A Course of Love, a wisdom text like A Course in Miracles, a wisdom text like The Way of Mastery, and many other wisdom texts. To forgive is to accept the correct perception, Raj, and my mighty companion. So, your heart is calling to you to accept forgiveness. Why should you accept forgiveness and correct perceptions? The reason why you should accept forgiveness and correct perceptions is so that you can give forgiveness and correct perceptions. So when you give a correct perception that's based on love, from then on, you will look upon the forgiven world with love. It's time to look upon a forgiven world with love. That's right, CJ. I accept full forgiveness and choose to only perceive and receive love. That's right, CJ. Absolutely. I join you in that. That's why I'm not speeding through this. I just want us to feel this, feel it, and hear it. John, thank you for joining the Course of Love. Good to have you online, brother. Take a breath. Now, what I found is sometimes it's good to have a little funk with your truth. There are many different approaches to reaching the truth. And no good teacher uses the same approach to every student. And I realize that there are some people that will hear this through me, and there are some people that will not hear this through me. And that's okay with me. That's fine with me. Because you know what? I'm filled with gratitude. I'm so thankful to have you, those of you who are with me right now tonight, my mighty companions. So, I repeat again that reason does not oppose love. As your split mind would have you believe it does, reason is not opposite to love. Sometimes people associate love with being out of reason, not using logic, not using your common sense. You're in love, so you just lost it. But reason does not oppose love. Reason doesn't oppose love. Now, your split mind, do you know that your split mind, that's another term for your ego mind, would be your split mind, would be your ego mind. Your split mind even judges love. A fearful mind is constantly judging love. Like if there's someone listening to me right now, and let's say that person is very fear-based. And what I am saying is that everything is love or a call for love, and that as long as you think your function is just to constantly judge everything and everyone around you, and then to choose out of those that you are judging, the ones that you think deserve love and the ones that you think don't deserve love, then your special function cannot truly be revealed to you. You can't really receive your special function. And we know that your special function is to bring light into the darkness, for me to be the love in the midst of what I perceive as fear. Because the truth of the matter is, what I'm looking at as the outside world is really my own subconscious mind. I'm looking at my own mind. Everything that I'm looking at is a projection of the one mind. It's a projection of consciousness. So and that is why in forgiving you, I am forgiving myself, because doggone it, you are me. I am you. So, we have a split mind that even judges love. And we have a split mind that even opposes love. And it opposes love on the basis that love doesn't use any judgment. You can't really trust love. Love doesn't even use any really good judgment. People fall in love or think they're in love, and sometimes it looks like they lose their mind. So love, you can't really trust love. So the frightened mind even judges love and condemns love. So here you can see the value that you placed on judgment. Even to the ridiculous notion that you can even judge judgment. Like, I'll judge judgment. I'll judge somebody else judging. I will judge judgment. And do you know that you deem yourself capable of making good judgments and poor judgments? That the average person thinks that they can make good judgments and bad judgments. And you deem love as being capable of neither good judgment nor bad judgment. It looks like love operates. It looks like love seems to operate on its own, separate from what your mind would bid it do. It looks like love is just something sometimes it just takes you over. And it just, before you know it, you're doing something that you never thought you would do. And this is why there's a fear of love, even while you yearn for love. Because one of the most common statements I have ever heard from people when they started to feel love for me, especially in a relationship, one of the most common things I would hear is, I'm afraid I'm going to lose myself in you. I'm afraid I'm going to lose myself in this relationship. So there's a part of us that believes that love may make you do something that you really don't want to do. And that's the wrong perception of love. But that's why many people fear love, even while they yearn for love. I yearn for love, but I'm afraid of love. I want love, but I'm afraid of love. I want love, but I'm yearning for love, but I'm afraid of love. So this is what the split mind would call reason. This is what the split mind would call reason. A world in which there are two sides to everything. A mind that is full of fear. A mind that thinks it's separate from God, believes that there are two things out here and that these two sides oppose each other. How could this be reason? The truth doesn't oppose anything. Truth opposes nothing. Truth opposes nothing. Truth opposes nothing. Love doesn't oppose anything. Love opposes nothing. I love you, I do not oppose you. I love you, I do not oppose you. I love you, I don't oppose you. I love you, I don't oppose you. Love doesn't oppose anything. Truth doesn't oppose anything. If I am powerful, I am not going to oppose you. True power doesn't oppose anything because there's no need to. If you're strong, if you're invulnerable, if you are powerful, if you are divine, if you are God, you are not opposing anything. There's no need to oppose anything. And like Joan is saying, but where you really already are, truth opposes nothing. Laura, you're welcome. Joan says, love brings you where you never thought you could be. That's right. Love brings you where you never thought you could be. So take a breath. I'm going to get me a little sip of water, which will give me a chance to kind of deal with this stuff. This is some deep stuff that I'm hearing right here tonight. Now, you have a memory of creation. And that memory of creation serves you even if it hasn't served you well. What does that mean? Well, it's this memory of creation that tells you that love doesn't judge. Why is it in a world of judgment where so many people judge, why is it that we even hear the idea that love doesn't judge? That's because a part of you remembers the truth. A part of you knows the truth about creation. It's only your split mind that is made of this memory what will serve its purpose. It's only a person's split, fearful mind that wants to use the truth to try to serve his own personal purposes. What it calls a deficiency is really your saving grace. What does that mean? Listen carefully. Letting go of what your mind would tell you. Letting go of what your mind would tell you in favor of what your heart already knows. Let go of what your mind is telling you in favor of what your heart already knows. Your heart already knows the truth. You already know the truth in your heart. You already know the truth in your heart. Let go of what your mind is telling you in favor of the truth that you already know in your heart. Let go of what your mind would tell you in favor of what your heart already knows is but the purpose of this course. The purpose of the course of love is to get you to let go of what your mind is telling you based on what you've learned in the past that makes you feel afraid. Don't you understand, Raj, that your fear is coming from what you've learned in the past? Your fear is coming from forgetting that you are joined and that you are innocent and that you are loved and that you are divine. Don't you know that your fear is coming from your sense of separation from God, your source? So what you really want to do is let go of what your mind is telling you in favor of what your heart already knows. That's the purpose of A Course of Love. So what is it that replaces judgment? What is it that replaces judgment? If you're not going to use judgment, what is it that replaces judgment? Only forgiveness. Only forgiveness replaces judgment. 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 Replaces judgment. Only forgiveness replaces judgment. Only forgiveness. Only forgiveness replaces judgment. 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 That means only correct perception replaces judgment. Only true perception replaces judgment. But do you know that true forgiveness is as foreign to you as is true love? Say that again. What forgiveness really is foreign to you. What forgiveness truly is foreign to you. Just as what love is foreign to you. What true forgiveness is not what I have learned from the world. In the world, forgiveness is trying to overlook somebody for what they really did to you. That's not what true forgiveness is. And just like true love is not specialness. True love is not singling only one person out for your attention and love and care to the exclusion of every other being on the planet. That is not love. And trying to overlook what you think somebody really did to hurt you, that is not true forgiveness. You think forgiveness looks upon another in judgment and pardons the wrongs that you would enumerate. True forgiveness simply looks past the illusion to the truth. I say true forgiveness just looks past the false idea to the truth, because an illusion is a false idea. 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 And so true forgiveness simply looks past the false ideas to the truth. I'm going to invite you to do that right now. Look past the false ideas to the truth. Look past the false ideas to the truth. And when you're looking at the truth, there are no sins to be forgiven. If you're really seeing correctly, there are no sins to be forgiven. If you're really, truly seeing correctly. So how do you know when you are really seeing correctly? I want you to ask yourself this question. How will I know if I'm really seeing correctly? If I'm seeing truly correctly, and if my mind has been healed, there are no sins or guilt that I'm even seeing to be forgiven. In other words, if I'm seeing correctly, there are no wrongs to be pardoned. If I'm really seeing correctly, there are no wrongs to be pardoned. Do you know that forgiveness, true forgiveness, looks on innocence? True forgiveness only sees innocence. 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 There are no wrongs to be pardoned when you're truly seeing correctly. When your mind has been healed, there are no wrongs to pardon. Forgiveness looks on innocence and sees innocence, where judgment never sees innocence. When you're in a mind full of fearful judgment, you never see innocence. You only see guilt. As a matter of fact, if you're full of guilt and fear, you may be feeling yourself getting strangely angry, by what you're hearing. If you haven't forgiven and you're full of grievances yourself, you may find yourself getting very angry, some part of you getting upset by what I'm saying, because your perception hasn't been corrected yet. And if your perception hasn't been corrected, you are seeing things in a fearful way. If your perception hasn't been corrected, you are seeing things in a fearful way. If your perception hasn't been corrected, you are seeing things in a fearful way. If your perception hasn't been corrected, you are seeing in a fearful way. If your perception hasn't been corrected, you are seeing in a fearful way. If your perception hasn't been corrected, you are seeing in a fearful way. If your perception hasn't been corrected, you are seeing in a fearful way. That's right, Kathy. Thank God you found the fire extinguisher. And the fire extinguisher is forgiveness. Myrna, that's right. You forgive. Julie, yes. Let go of fear and remember what the heart already knows. Now, the kind of forgiveness that I'm talking about seems impossible to you because you are looking at the unforgiven world. And since you're looking at the unforgiven world, you're looking where evil seems to walk. You're looking where danger seems to lurk, and nowhere is safety to be found. And so I know that some of the stuff that I'm saying to you may seem impossible to you because you're looking at an unforgiven world. So each one of you that thinks you're separate, each separate one is out for his or her own self. Separate beings are out for themselves. And if you don't watch out for your own safety, is what you tell yourself. You think you would surely perish if you didn't watch out for your own safety. If you are looking through the eyes of unforgiveness, what I've said seems impossible, because it looks like you're in a world where danger seems to lurk everywhere, and nowhere can real safety be found. And it looks like you're in a world where people are just looking out for themselves. And so it makes sense to think if you don't look out for your own safety, that you will perish. Yet while you are watching vigilantly, you know that you can't protect yourself. You know that you can't really protect yourself. And you know that while you watch vigilantly, that's telling yourself that you aren't safe. If I defend myself, if I'm defending myself all the time, then I believe that I am being attacked. If I'm defending myself all the time, then I think there's something out there to threaten me. If I'm defending myself all the time, there must be something out there to threaten me. So to defend yourself is to actually create more fear for yourself. There's a lesson in A Course in Miracles that goes, if I defend myself, I am attacked. If I defend myself, I am attacked. There's a lesson in A Course in Miracles that says, if I defend myself, I am attacked. Now, when I first heard that, it kind of freaked me out because it looked like I was being left kind of open to be hurt if I don't defend myself. And what it was saying to me is, my thoughts create my experience. If I believe that there is something out there for me to defend against, that there is this threat out there, then I'm believing in the threat. And so in believing in the threat, I will seem to see the threat and maybe even experience the threat. I know that it looks like there's only one of you and that there are many of them. Never can you keep your guard up quite enough. Never can you secure a final guarantee against disaster. It looks like you're trying to get this final guarantee that you can't be hurt. And yet you cling to all attempts to do so, even while knowing that all the things that you try to do to truly protect yourself are ineffective. You still keep trying to defend yourself all the time through what you think you can do to protect yourself. The true protection comes through God. The true protection comes through oneness and knowing who you really are and your connection to Source and your connection to love. Your connection to love. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. That's right, Myrna. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. In my defenselessness. In your defenselessness, your safety lies. In your defenselessness, Your safety lies in your defenselessness. Your safety lies in your defenselessness. Your safety lies. That's the truth. Welcome, Blue. Good to see you online. So I'm going to take another breath, and we're going to go through chapter 16, paragraph 14. You think you cannot give up your vigilance because you know no other way to ensure your safety. You think you can't give up your vigilance because you don't know any other way to ensure your safety. Which means even if you cannot guarantee your safety against everything all the time, you believe you can guarantee your safety against some things some of the time. Even if you can't guarantee your safety in terms of everything all the time, there's a part of you that believes that you can guarantee your safety against some things some of the time. And for this occasional protection that really has no validity and no proof, you give up love. You give up focusing on love and really allowing love so that you can continue to do it the old way through judgment and defense, so that even though you can't protect yourself all the time, you think that you can protect yourself from some things sometime. And to do this, you don't know that what you're doing is giving up love. Now, while you claim you need proof before you can believe or accept something as a fact or as truth, and certainly before you can really act on it, you claim you need proof, you live as if you believe that what has never worked, you live as if you believe that what has never worked before will somehow miraculously work in the future. Do you know that you live as if what has never worked before all your life, a sense of separation, defense, unforgiveness, blame, projection, specialness, something that has never given you complete peace in the past? Do you know that there's a part of you that thinks what has never worked in the past is all of a sudden going to miraculously work in the future? And for some of you, in some parts of your life, you have nothing but evidence of a life of unhappiness and despair. And what is a life of unhappiness and despair? A life of unhappiness and despair is a life where occasional moments of joy, or the few people that you love out of the many that you don't, are all that make your life worth living. So really a person is living a life of happiness, unhappiness, and despair is a person who just has occasional moments of joy with only a few people that seem to make their life worth living. So let's bring the energy up. Do you know that a part of you thinks that too? A part of you thinks that for me to ask you to give up the caution, there's a part of you that believes that for me to ask you to give up your sense of protection and vigilance that protects, you think that I'm asking you to give up the caution and protection and vigilance that protects these moments of joy and people you love as well as your own self. In other words, you think I'm asking you to live a life of greater risk than the life you lead now. I know it looks like the truth is asking you to live a life of greater risk than the life that you live right now. Sometimes it looks like the truth is asking you to leave yourself defenseless, to let yourself be walked all over, to not protect yourself and take care of yourself and be too vulnerable. I know that looks like what the truth is asking of you. Sometimes I know, I understand. Your judgment has not made the world a better place. Do you know that your judgment has not made the world a better place? Do you know that your judgment has not made the world a better place? And if history proves anything, it proves the opposite of what you care to believe. History proves the opposite of what you care to believe. The more the individual, society, and culture, the more you indulge in the desire to judge, the more we indulge in the desire to judge, the more God-like we think we make ourselves, the more that we desire to judge, we make ourselves like phony gods. Do you know that you are being a phony god when you think that you can sit on your throne and judge everything and everybody around you? That means you're a phony God. You're a fake God. You're sitting on your throne and you think you can determine who's good and who's bad and what's right and what's wrong. That's a phony fake God. That's what we've been. Phony fake gods. Phony fake God. That's what we've been. Really phony fake gods. For all of you here know that judgment isn't your place. You know that judgment belongs to God and God alone. I say judgment belongs to God and belongs to God alone. I say judgment belongs to God and belongs to God alone. This is firmly attached to your memory of creation. You know deep down within yourself that judgment only belongs to God. You have enough of the memory you have enough memory of the truth. You have enough memory of the truth to know that judgment only belongs to God. God is the only one. The only part of us, the only thing that should be judging is God and not us. To wrestle the right to judge away from God is an act against God. You are just like a child who has dared to defy your parents. You're just like a child that has decided to defy your parents, and the act of defiance fills you with the boldness. The act of defiance fills the bold one. The defiant one feels very bold because they've defied their parents. Something dangerous has been tried and seems like it succeeded. I look like I've separated myself from the source and all that is and succeeded. Looks like I really am the one that can judge everything and what's right and wrong. It looks like I have succeeded in being defiant with my parent. It looks like the order of the universe has flipped. It looks like the order of the universe, the order has flipped from love to fear. It looks like everything has flipped from love to fear. The child believes that the child has stolen the role of the parent away from the parent without having become a parent. It looks like God has become the enemy to those who judge, just as the parent of a defiant child becomes the enemy in the child's perception. But the child is wrong. The child is wrong. The child is wrong. The child is wrong. The child has made a mistake. 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 But do you know, with this mistake, do you know that the child thinks that its relationship with its parent has been broken? Do you know that there's a part of you that thinks that you have separated yourself from your divine parent? Do you know that you are like the child that has tried to be defiant? Do you know that you are like the child that has been defiant? That you're totally cute and you're totally juicy and you're totally innocent. Don't you know that it's this belief that we've severed our relationship with God that seems to replace the real holy relationship that can't be replaced? You have a belief. Do you know that a person in fear, or a person that thinks that they're separate, has a belief that they have severed their relationship with their source? Do you know that a fearful person who judges all the time, that's a person that has the idea that they have severed their relationship with their Creator, has severed their relationship with God? That's right, Blue. Let us remember our divine innocence, everyone. Myrna, you're right. It's just an authority problem. CJ, I'm glad it sounds good. When you judge, you are in your fake God role. That's right, CJ. When we judge, we're in our fake God role. Get out of your fake God role. You haven't really severed your relationship with your Creator. Do you know that judging all the time, refusing to give up your old ways of learning and believing that has not given you total joy? Do you know that judgment just reinforces the idea of your separation? Do you know that judgment makes of everything something even darker than it started out in the first place? It no longer seems like a choice that you've made. It looks like there's this irreparable rift or break that some type of a new choice can't change. I know it looks like you can't change your mind and change your reality completely, but you can do it. Child of God, this isn't so. You haven't separated yourself from your source completely. You are still connected to the love that created you and that loves and sustains you. You are sustained by the love of God. 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 I say you are sustained by the love of God. You are sustained by the love of God. You are still sustained by the love of God. Child of God, being separate from your Creator can never ever be. For the right to judge is but the right of the Creator. The Creator who judges all of creation as it created and as it remains. The Creator created us in love. We are loved. We are loving. We are lovable. That's all we are. You are loved. You are loving. You are lovable. You are loved. You are loving. You are lovable. You are loved. You are loving. You are lovable. You are loved. You are loving. You are lovable. You are loved. You are loving. You are lovable. You are loved. You are loving. You are lovable. You are loved. You are loved. You are lovable. You are loved. You are loved. You are lovable. You only think that you've changed the unchangeable. You cannot really change yourself. You cannot really change what you really are. You cannot really change what you really are. You cannot really change what you really are. And you are only love, freedom, free, love. You are love, only love. You are love and only love. And what you think about yourself can't change it. You can't change what you are. You never can change that the love that you are. You can't change the love that you are. You can't change the beautiful being that you are. You can't change the magnificence that you really are. You are magnificent. And there's nothing you can do about it. Na 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 na. There is nothing you can do about it. You are glorious and you are beautiful. You are loved. There is nothing you can do about it. I'm sorry. I don't care what you think about yourself. There is nothing you can do about it. You are totally loved and totally loving. There is nothing you can do about it. You can't change yourself from the way that you were created. So do you know that judgment doesn't make you safe? Judgment doesn't make you safe. Judgment doesn't make you safe. Judgment doesn't make you safe. And defining evil doesn't get rid of evil. Defining evil just makes it real to you. You believe judgment is to be based on justice, but judgment, and you believe that justice includes punishment of those that you have defined as evil. I know that you think that those that you have defined as evil deserve to be punished. You have thus made justice seem like justice is vengeance. And in making justice vengeance, thinking that people need to be punished, you rob justice. You rob justice of its meaning. So those who sit in judgment call upon their power to do what it cannot do. Because do you know that all power comes from love? All power comes from love. Justice comes from love. Any basis other than love for power or for justice makes a mockery of both. Might makes right. That's a saying that a lot of you know. And even those who know the saying not believe in the tenets it presents. Even those who know the saying not believe in the tenets it represents. This you will claim. You have evidence for. It's all around you that might makes right. It looks like the strong survive and the weak perish. It looks like the mighty prevail. And so define what is right for all those over whom they prevail. It looks like those who have the power defines what's going to go on with everybody else that doesn't have power. It looks like those in power are those who make the laws. And it looks like those who have no power are the ones who just obey the laws. And yet you are as frightened as those who have no power as those who do have power. Criminals are feared. Criminals are shunned. And yet criminals have no power but that which they make from their own selves. You want power to come only through legitimate channels, and you don't want those who have no power to possess power through the same weapons of might that you claim make those in authority powerful. While you want those you have given power to protect you, you also fear those who you have given power, even though you want them to protect you. You fear the government, even though you want the government to protect you. So while you want those you have given power to protect you, you also fear them, and they in turn feel the powerless. The ones in power fear you because you might take away their power and rise up against them. So what kind of power is it that needs to be constantly defended? What is it about powerless? What is it about the powerless that frightens you? What is it about the powerless that frightens you? Except that they might not accept their powerless state. And what does it say? But what history has shown you, that what is powerful and who is not is determined by might or any authority that can be given or taken away. Power is possessed by those who claim it. That's what we believe in the split mind. Power is possessed by those who claim it, by those who cry, I am. From the beginning of power comes the rejection of powerlessness. The beginning of power comes from the rejection of powerlessness. The rejection of powerlessness is just a step toward your identity achieved through the awakening of love of self. Your power comes from your loving yourself. Power comes from 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 loving yourself, Raj. Power comes from loving yourself, mighty companion. What misery the world has suffered in the name of judgment. What misery has the world suffered in the name of power. What misery has the world suffered in the name of justice. What misery can be avoided by finding the true power inherent in your identity. Misery can be avoided by finding the true power within yourself. Misery can be avoided by finding the true power within yourself. You are not powerless. You are not powerless. You are not powerless. You're right, Wendy. Power comes from loving yourself. You're right, Yvette. Power comes from loving yourself. Power comes from loving yourself. Power comes from loving yourself. Those of you who think you have traditional means of power on your side, don't turn to your own little personal power. And then you wonder why those most spiritually, both currently and historically, seem to suffer hardship. Yet it is often only those who suffer hardship who will rise up and claim the power that is their own instead of looking for it elsewhere. Your perception but looks at power backward. Your perception wonders why God has forsaken a people who seem to be so godly. God forsakes nobody, but people forsake God. And when people give away their power and don't claim their birthright, that is forsaking God. When you do not claim your power, when you do not claim your birthright as a child of God, that is what it means to forsake God. Your birthright is simply the right to be who you are. It's your birthright to be who you are. There's nothing in the world that has the power to take your birthright from you. There is nothing in this world that has the power to take your birthright from you. The only way you can lose the power of your birthright is to give your birthright away. And you've done that if you're feeling afraid and lost right now. God doesn't want any sacrifice from you. Love never wants any sacrifice from you. Love never asks for sacrifice. Love never asks for sacrifice. Real love never asks for sacrifice. Yet when you give away your power, you make yourself a sacrificial lamb. When you give your power away, you make yourself a sacrificial lamb when you give your power away. You make yourself a sacrificial lamb when you give your power away. God doesn't want you to make a sacrifice of who you really are. You look back on stories of sacrifice from the Bible and you think, what a barbaric time it was back in the biblical days. And yet you actually repeat the same history, but in a different form. If a talented physician were to give up his power to heal, you would surely call that a waste. Yet you give up your power to be who you really are and think it's just the way life is. You're giving up your power to be who you are, and you think that that's just the way life is. You give away your power. You give away your power, and then you bow down. And then you bow down to those whom you have give your power to. You give away your power. You give away your power. And then you bow down. And then you bow down to those that you have given your power to. For you are afraid of nothing more than your own power. There's nothing that you are afraid of more than your own power. This fear of your own power, this fear of your own power, it stems from what you have already used your power for. You know your power created this world of illusion. You know it. You know your power created the world in which you are living right now. And so you think another might be able to do it better. Do you know that you no longer trust yourself with your own power? Do you know that you no longer trust yourself with your own power? And so you have forgotten your power. And you don't realize how important it is that you reclaim your power. It is important that you reclaim your power. Do you know, as good as you may want to be, you would still go meekly through your life trying to comply with rules of God and man with some thought of some greater good in your mind. If everyone did what he or she wanted to, is what you tell yourself, society would collapse and anarchy would rule if everybody just did whatever they wanted to do. You think you are only fair in deciding that if everyone cannot do what they want to do, then you too must abdicate your wishes for the common good. You believe that you have to think of how you can serve in noble ways. If you cannot claim at least a small amount of love for your own self, then neither can you claim your power, for they go hand in hand. There is no common good as you perceive of it. You are not here to assure the continuance of society. You are not here to assure the continuance of society. The worries that would occupy you, I'll say it again, the worries that would occupy you, the things that you are worried about, can be let go. The things that you are worried about can be let go if you but work instead for the return of heaven. Do you know what the return of heaven is? Do you know what the return of heaven is? The return of heaven is the return of your own self. The return of heaven is the return of your own self. The return of heaven is the return of your own self. The return of heaven is the return of your own self. Mighty companion, that was some deep, deep, powerful stuff. And I'm going to do a quick recap in a minute. The name of it was What You Choose Instead of Who You Are, Instead of Love. Thank you for tuning in. And if you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation, I would really appreciate it. I'm a full-time teacher, and so thank you for sharing with me. Please go to www.earlpurdy.com if you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation. And I'm also available for personal sessions called clarity sessions. So I work with you on your particular issue to get past that block. Go to my website, earlpurdy.com. It explains it in detail. And I'm also available for mentoring if you want to save some time with all of this. I've been doing this over 30 plus years. And I love you, and I want to share with you. You're awesome. And if you want to find out more about A Course of Love, go to acourseoflove.org, O-R-G. And the vocals that you heard earlier was John Christmas, so go to johnChristmas.com. I do the Course of Love on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, live streaming. Course of Love, The Way of Mastery on Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, and A Course in Miracles on Sundays at 1 o'clock, also Mountain Time. So, Have any of you, I'd like for you now to share right quick some takeaways that you got from tonight's message. A few things that you really want to remember that I can share with the rest of our mighty companions. Now remember, judgment is not your function. Your function is not judgment. Your function is to bring light or love or joy into the darkness, which is the fear and the ignorance of the world. And even though there's a part of you that may think that the Creator is separate from you or the Creator is angry at you, this is not true. Remember that the Creator is only unconditional love. And if you insist on using judgment, use the Holy Spirit's judgment. And the Holy Spirit's judgment, the loving right mind's judgment, is everything is love or a call for love. So, everything is love or a call for love. Myrna says one of the things that she's taken away is, I have been afraid of my power. And Julie says one of the things that she has taken away is fear separates us from our loving mind. And CJ says that her takeaway is that giving up any of my power is my attempt to deny God. And Blue Sky says her takeaway is we are sustained by the love of God. 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 I am sustained by the love of God. I am sustained by the love of God. You are sustained by the love of God. Mighty companions, I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you for joining with me, mighty companions. And my mighty companion, you know who I'm talking about, you. Thank you for tuning into A Course of Love. Please share these videos and comment and like them on Facebook. Let's gather more mighty companions. And remember, may the course be with you.